Welcome back. We got a fresh new build for you guys here, coming straight out of Boulder, Colorado. This is the Transit 148 EL chassis. It is the high roof and the extended version from Ford. This is the two-wheel drive gas model, and the build out is a Titan Van Classic build. So one of our spec builds, got lots of upgrade packages that were added to this one by the client. So let's check it out. All right, so on the outside of this van, we installed a Fiamma F45S. This is the wall mount version from Fiamma. These are specialty brackets made specifically for the Ford Transit that you can get through Fiamma. We did install an additional bracket on the inside of the van to help with some support. We noticed that the exterior was flexing a little bit, so we custom made an internal bracket to help stiffen and reinforce the backside of that sheet metal up, which helped a lot. Over the long term, will probably help out. Short term, it's probably not too big of a deal, but you know, kind of always try and catch those little details as we're building these things out. Moving around towards the rear end of the van here, we have our exterior outlet. So this comes standard in all of our classic builds. So just a waterproof exterior outlet for plugging in anything when you're hanging out outside, got the awning popped out. And our shore power plug. So this is a standard 120 volt outlet. Utilizes any shore power standard extension cord, plug it into a RV site, or you know, if you're crashing out in front of a friend's house, you can run an extension cord in to get power. And as soon as you get that shore power hooked up, the inverter that we use is a Xantrex XC2000. It has really nice features built into it. So it is an inverter charger. So it will start charging the battery bank that is in the vehicle. In this case, we have a lithium-ion battery bank, 200 amp hour capacity. And it also goes into what's called bypass mode. So as soon as you plug that shore power in, it goes into a bypass. The energy flows through the inverter, but the inverter is actually not inverting anymore. So you're not using any of that energy. It's like you just ran that extension cord in right to all your outlets on the inside of the van. So now you can run your cooktop, hot water heater, air conditioning, all that good stuff right off that shore power without using any of your juice on your battery. So really sweet feature, comes standard with our Classic. All right, so we talked about some of the exterior features. We talked about some of the windows that we installed here. We have the CR Lawrence AW1033 windows. So we'll show you how those work from the inside, but really nice windows. They are awning style, so they tilt out, which means they can be open during the rain. So versus a slider style window that will have to be closed as soon as weather kind of crops up. These are really nice because you still get the ventilation, they have screens built into them, and they'll shed the water really nicely. On top of the roof here, this comes standard with all of our classic builds, is a 300 watt monocrystalline solar panel. That's mounted directly onto the roof line and runs in to charge the auxiliary battery system, in this case the lithium ion system that we installed. And we have a single Max Air 7500K model fan up on top. This particular unit, they actually added a second fan. So a lot of times with these longer vans, we like to put a second fan on, which is an upgrade package that we offer with the Classic. These clients chose that package, so there are two fans up on top that just help with that increased circulation, and they are reversible, so you can create like kind of a push-pull as well. Pull air in with one, ventilate with the other, and get a lot of nice airflow. So that's pretty much all we got for the outside of the van. Let's swing on to the inside and show you what we got going on. All right, inside the Titan Classic. Got lots of upgrade packages that this client chose. Standard though, with our Classic build, we have our swivel seats. So we have our passenger and driver side that both swivel around. A couple of the upgrade packages here are the galley package. We have our 2-person bench seat, overhead cabinet, and a couple cubby cabinets that we'll talk about in the rear. Now, we'll get into the specifics of a couple of these upgrade packages. All of these items are fully removable, so they can be added at any time down the line, but also can be taken in and out of the van to adapt the van to whatever your needs are or your specific trip. Let's talk about the galley first. The galley is a fully self-contained unit. It utilizes quick disconnect fittings that are integrated into the wall paneling system that comes standard in all of our Classic builds. So whether you get the galley or not, the fittings are there on the wall. We have hot and cold water quick disconnects, 120 volt and 12 volt DC. So our faucet in this particular build has the hot water package as well. So we have both hot and cold water coming up to the faucet. We have our sink with an inset countertop piece that allows you to get your countertop space back very quickly. A 2-burner induction cooktop. So this runs off of the inverter and the battery. We have a 12-volt DC. This is made by, our fridge, excuse me, that's made by Isotherm Cruise 130. And then we have a couple of doors and drawers down below for storage. The galley, again, is fully removable, so we can take this thing in and out. Only takes a couple of minutes, and you undo the quick disconnect fittings and then loosen up the attachment points that integrate into the L-track that's mounted on the wall here. So the bench seat is another one of our upgrade options that we have for our classic design. This is a 2-person bench seat with 3-point harnesses, armrests. We have little map pockets back here in the back, and they do recline. So they don't fully recline, but you do get a lot of mobility out of them to set that comfort level and kind of be able to kick back and relax when you're traveling down the road. It is fully removable, so these bench seats integrate into the L-track that we install in the floor. These utilize the unwind seat lockers, and they very quickly clip in and release to allow you to both take the seat in and out of the vehicle, but also move the seat along the length of the track so you can really dial in your setup for your use. So really nice upgrade package, really popular, and gets you a lot of versatility. And with our classic design, since we have 2 sets of L-track, if the galley is not installed, you can actually move the bench seat to both the driver's side or the passenger side, again, giving you the greatest flexibility and modularity to make sure that your van works for you. Another upgrade option that this client chose was our window shades. So we sell these a la carte, and we're working on getting these up on our TitanDIYkits.com website, so stay tuned for those. We've been getting a lot of requests about those, so bear with us, they are coming. For our production, we've been building these guys specific for our clients and speccing them out depending on what their vans are. This guy is for the Ford Transits, a specific window we designed for this, a window shade we designed for this. It's a C.R. Lawrence 293L window. A couple of nice features on here. So it's fully magnetized all the way around the edge, so it just clips on and off really quickly. It stows very small, so this is our front windshield set. So you can see how tight this kind of compacts down into. And this guy here is, all of them have about a 3/16 of insulation throughout them, so they do a really good job of keeping the cold out or the heat in, kind of depending on which way you're, what time of year it is. So really nice feature there, being fully insulated. And a nice little touch that we put on this one, because the C.R. Lawrence windows are operable, we wanted to make sure you still had access to your vents, so we actually went ahead and installed and designed this with a little flip up here. So this guy can tuck up out of the way and give you access to your knobs. It's kind of sliding around on me a little bit, but you have your knob right here that allows you to open your window to be able to get that ventilation, and then tuck this guy up out of the way to allow that airflow without having to take the whole window shade down. So these are a standard feature on this 293L, and then also we designed the same feature on the slider door window, the 293R, for the Transit specifically. The other window shades we have for the Transit, so we have the front windshield. So this is a full windshield that kind of goes around your electronic housing up front, around your windshield there, tucks into the side, and it has some reinforcements in here to keep this window shade stiff when it does get installed. They do a really good job blacking it out, even around some of the kind of difficult curvatures that are in the front windows. And so these do a really nice job if you're kind of trying to do a little bit more stealth camping, or even just trying to really keep that light out for nighttime sleeping. And with them being insulated, again, they do a really good job of either reflecting that sunlight or keeping that warmth in, depending on the time of year. We also have the front driver and passenger windows here. So these guys work around all the curvatures and clip right onto the metal of the door. And then we've designed these window shades also for the C.R. Lawrence AW1033s and for the rear doors of the Transit as well. Another one of our window shade options is for the Transit slider door. So this will work with any window that's installed here. So whether you have the fixed glass OEM from Ford or you have an aftermarket window installed like a C.R. Lawrence, AMA, or Motion. Really nice about this window, so it goes to the outer extreme, so that's why it works with any of those window shades. It's also designed around the handle here, so it keeps a really nice tight fit around this plastic handle to make sure that we get it, keep out as much light as possible. They fold up and remove really easily. So this guy stows away really nice and tight, and then very fast to just deploy and really satisfying when that guy just snaps right into place there. So that fast to get on and off, and that sort of functionality is the same kind of across the board for all of our window shades. So stay tuned for those. Again, we'll be getting those up on our TitanDIYKits.com, and they should be coming up really soon. This is our standard classic build. So we have our 2 fixed wheel well cabinets, both on the driver side and the passenger side. We'll start with the passenger side. Here is where we store all of our electrical components. So we have our battery bank down below. This has a 200 amp hour lithium ion battery bank. We have our inverter up on top. So we have a flip down door here. So we have our Xantrex XC2000 inverter. It's a pure sine wave inverter. And all of our electrical in the back. Let me kick on a light. I'll make it a little easier to see underneath here. So we have all of our load lights underneath these rails here, and we have switches on both the front of the cabinet and on the rear of the cabinet, so you can control it from the front of the vehicle or when you're accessing the garage from the back doors. So that's what we got going on in here. These are just some storage in this cabinet. So we do have a removable shelf. So you can kind of break this up and store some smaller stuff in here, or remove this guy if you're storing something a little bigger or taller. So on the driver's side, this is our water system side. So this is just a storage area here. So you have lots more storage up front. We have our hot water heater mounted in this cabinet. This is powered off of the inverter. So this is a 4-gallon hot water heater. It's not on demand. It's electric, uses a 750 watt heating element. The 4 gallons take about 45 minutes to an hour to heat up. Nice little pro tip for you. We always recommend kicking on the heater while you're driving to your next destination. So that way you're utilizing the power from your alternator versus your battery once you actually get to your campsite or your destination. So as you head out, kick on the inverter, kick on the hot water heater, get that water heated up, and that water will stay hot for close to 8 to 10 hours. Obviously, it depends on ambient temperature, but they're really well insulated. It'll stay nice and warm for you. That way you don't have to tap into your battery bank just to get a little bit of hot water. In the back, it'll be a little bit easier to show you, but we have our water pump and all of our control valves in the rear compartment. We have our 20-gallon wheel well water tank underneath, and we've actually designed a new tank. Obviously you can't see it behind this panel here, but it's what we're calling our wheel well slim tank, and that'll be coming out really soon, so keep an eye out for that. I think it's going to be really helpful for a lot of these designs where you want to end that water tank right at the edge of the wheel well. So if you have flares, you're sleeping side to side, or you just have some more restrictions around that. It's a 20-gallon tank, like I mentioned, and we're really excited about that. So keep an eye out on our TitanDIYKits.com website for that coming soon. All right, so we went over the cabinets. Let's talk about the bed. So this is our Titan bi-slide bed. We went ahead and removed the mattress just so you could get a better look at how this guy operates. It's a full aluminum platform. And this is our kick plates that we call. So this is what helps to hold the mattress in. These come in 4 different accent colors that we offer with the Classic, so you can kind of put your own little personal touch on there. So we offer it in red, black, blue, and gray. And really easy to switch those out or kind of customize it to your liking. The platform is fully removable, so we have these handles that are kind of integrated into it that allows you to easily lift it out. It's also the handles that allow you to slide it forward. So to operate the bed, we have 4 catches underneath that are really easy to use. The back ones pretty much always stay fixed unless you plan on removing the bed. So when we go to operate this guy, kind of peek down here underneath, We have some small knobs here that will, the catches that will release. We'll slide them back so that they're not catching on our bed rails here. Do the same, so we have 4 in total, 2 on each side. Slide those guys back, grab the handles, and slide straight back. So it's got a really clean, smooth operation. They can be a little tight right off the bat, but it keeps it from rattling, and that's really a key feature in all of our builds. We want to make sure that these things are really quiet going down the road, so we really focus on that and try and design things that, you know, no metal to metal contact, and a lot of detail and design goes into keeping those things really quiet. So full extension of the bed here. The platform weighs about 60 pounds fully assembled. Do recommend 2 people to take it in and out of the van. This guy, its full extension is around 78 inches long, and in a transit we have quite a bit of width here side to side, so I think we end up really close to around like 78 inches side to side as well. So it's a really big bed. Depending on the height, you can sleep side to side, or you could sleep lengthwise. And you can see off the back of the bed, we have quite a few inches to the rear of the door. So you do have quite a bit of space there as well. That makes that bed feel a lot bigger when you're parallel with the vehicle versus when you're sleeping side to side. Obviously, you have a very hard stop with the exterior here. Now you'll notice we actually utilize the bump outs of the vehicle on the Ford Transit. Same with our Sprinter builds as well. This is the outside of the vans right here. We have about a 1/4 inch of insulation, but this extra space here allows you to get a lot more width side to side in the van without the added cost. So we're not adding flares, we're not cutting into the van. Really simple use of that space to get you that additional room with no extra cost. So, all right, to put the bed away, really simple. We kept those, you can lock these latches down. So if you want to leave the bed in the extended position, we could go ahead and tighten those down onto the bed rails. If not, if you're just putting it out and putting it back in, you can just kind of leave those latches as is. And then to get them back in, simply lift and slide the bed back. Once it's slid back, if we had the mattress on here, it's a 2-part mattress, so we would just toss the second section on top. Once it's in place, we'll go ahead and reverse. We'll slide these catches underneath, just snug them down, and that's it. So really fast, very simple to operate, really, really strong. We kind of went a little crazy, and these things are built a little overkill. We actually tested this with over 1,200 pounds on this bed. Not that you'd ever want to put that much, but you're good to go. Whatever you want to do, this is a very, very strong, very durable, will last a lifetime. So like everything in our builds, we want to make these things last as long as possible and stand up to that abuse. You know, we put a lot of wear and tear on these things. A lot of multi-sport people, mountain biking, kayaking, rafting, skiing, all that stuff. We want to make sure this stuff lasts for a long time. So let's swing around to the back of the van, check out what we got going on the back side of these cabinets. And yeah, let's check it out. To round out the electrical here on our classic build, this is our control panel. So this is really where you're going to be interfacing to turn appliances off and on, check the status of your battery system, and just be able to manage your entire electrical system from one location. Up top here, we have the inverter remote control. So this allows us to turn the inverter off and on. The inverter is what produces the 120 volt alternating current power. So this is what we need to power the cooktop, hot water heater, air conditioning units, toasters, blenders, hair dryers, all those sorts of things require the inverter. So anything that uses a standard kind of household plug that you're familiar with, those 3-prong plugs, that's what the inverter is used for. All the other appliances like our lights, fridge, water pump, furnace, those all run off of the battery directly. So they use DC current, so we do not need the inverter to run those things. Just 2 different types of electrical that we run within the rig to make sure that we're using that electrical power as efficiently as possible. Once you turn the inverter on, we have our breaker panel here. So now we can actually choose which appliances are turned off and on. We have our water heater, galley, and outlets in this build. And again, if they had chosen to add the air conditioning upgrade, we would also have that guy on here, but this is just a extra switch and breaker if they decide to add an additional piece of equipment in the future. So really easy, flip it on. Heard that galley beep in the background there. That was actually the cooktop powering up, so we just sent power over to the kitchen unit. So that's how the 120 volt system works. Here we have this is a Victron BMV 712 Smart. So this is how we monitor our system, so we can actually see actual current coming in and out of the battery. So current is the amount of electrons flowing in and out. So right now we have a negative 7.5. So we have no sun outside. It's a little overcast today. The engine is not running, and we're not plugged into shore power. So if we turned off some lights, so I'll turn off the load lights underneath, you'll actually see that number change on the fly. So we just decreased the amount of current flow because we just turned off an appliance. So this other 5.5 amps that we have flowing out right now is going to be from some of the lights and some of the other electrical equipment that kind of self-monitors. We can also see the temperature of the battery. So with lithium ion, temperature is really important. We want to make sure those batteries stay warm. So we actually have built the system with heating pads that will actually kick on and off automatically to make sure that we try and keep those batteries as warm as possible. If lithium ion batteries get too cold, you will stop being able to charge them safely. And with our system, that automatically happens. So if the temperature drops too much, we have a charging relay that will automatically disconnect and keep you from being able to charge it until the temperature raises back up. If the temperature drops even further, we will then not be able to discharge the system. So we have another relay or another switch that will break the circuit to keep you from being able to discharge. That means all your lights shut off, the whole van de-energizes until that battery reaches a safe operating temperature to allow you to discharge again. So we can monitor the temperatures of the batteries. We set up alarms on these that will indicate when you need to start heating those batteries up. The heating pads can only do so much. So in really, really cold temperatures, if you're not running the heater in here, that battery will eventually get too cold, even with the heating pad running. And it'll protect itself, it'll shut itself off, but it can be an inconvenience. So you have the option to monitor it. You can also Bluetooth into this guy. Victron has a really nice app, the Victron Connect app, that allows you to monitor all of this remotely from your phone. So really nice feature, and this actually communicates with the battery and with the solar charge controller and creates a smart network of all of those components inside this rig so that they all are passing information back and forth between them. And the last piece of information that we have set up on here is voltage. So this tells you the health of the status of the battery or how much life you have left. 13.5 is a full lithium ion battery, 13.5 volts. A dead battery is 11.2 volts, but you definitely want to start charging or try and get that battery recharged well before that. So we actually set up an alarm on ours around 12.2 to just try and give you a heads up that, hey, you're starting to get a little bit low. You need to either get some sun going, start your engine, or plug into shore power to get that thing recharged. Down below is our Webasto controller. So this unit has, this vehicle has a Webasto Evo 40 gas. So it taps right into the gas tank. It does not utilize any other means to produce heat. It does pull a little bit of electricity, but even when it's running, it's very, very low, 2 to 3 amps. When it actually gets fired up, it might pull a little bit more when the glow pin is heating up the Webasto, but once it actually establishes a flame, that current draw is going to decrease, and it's going to start pulling in fuel with a little fuel pump that's installed directly into the unit to produce that heat. The Evo 40s have about 4,000 kilowatt of heating power, 4,000 watts or 4 kilowatts of heating power. So they can produce a lot of heat, and they do a really, really good job of keeping things nice and toasty during those winter months. So I have an Evo 40 installed in my rig, and I've slept in -20 without any sort of issue. So it is a pretty impressive little unit, and it does not pull that much fuel. It kind of really eyedropper by eyedropper, and it's pretty incredible how much heat that can produce. So this guy is a rheostat. It's just a variable resistor. Simply twist it on, and it will tell the Webasto what temperature. So it really is a form of a thermostat, though it does not read temperature right here. So midway, straight up and down on the dial is about 75 degrees. all the way cranked to the right at the max setting, it will continue to run until it gets it up to about 95 degrees in here. So you'll be nice and toasty. Down below, we have our water pump switch and our heater pad switch. So new on our classic builds is the heater pad system. So the water switch is pretty straightforward. We can turn the water pump off and on. You can hear that pump running in the background back there. And we also have now started installing the water pump switch on the back side of the water cabinet, so you can actually control the water pump from 2 locations. So if you're using the kitchen, you can go ahead and turn it on, or if you're using our rear spray down shower, you have a switch in the back as well. The heater pad, which is new, we can turn this guy on, and this will now heat up. We have pads that are attached to both our freshwater tank and the gray water tank if you add that package. So the gray water system is not a standard option on our classic build. It is something that we add and is very, very common. Most of the clients that get a galley will end up getting a gray water system as well. 9-gallon tank mounted up underneath the vehicle. The sink drains directly into that holding tank, and then it has a big valve on it that allows you to drain it either at an RV dump station or an appropriate location. The heating pads, so once we turn the heating pads on, they stay on, but they may not be producing heat. So they actually have built-in temperature sensors on the heating pads. So all we're doing here is actually enabling them to produce heat if the temperature gets cold enough. So you have kind of like a master switch here, but then they have that built-in temperature sensor. So for instance, it might be really cold outside, but you got the heater running, so it's warm on the inside. So that gray water tank heating pad might turn on, and your freshwater heating pad tank will be off because it will only turn on once that temperature drops below 40 degrees. So nice little feature to kind of help you push into those 4 seasons a little bit more. Though if it gets too cold outside, anything is going to freeze even with that heating pad on there. And so really very, very difficult to make a true 4-season camper that can handle everything from that -20 all the way up to that 120 if you're down in Phoenix, Arizona. So it's a nice feature, really does help and can help to de-thaw things if things do get frozen. So it's all built in and integrated into the system to make for ease of use. And a nice little feature that we're now adding onto all of our 2021 classic builds. So that pretty much finishes up the control panel. Let's swing around to the back side of the van, show you what we got going on, and that'll about do it for this build. So back side of our cabinets here. So most of the action is going to be over here on our water tank cabinet side. So right off the bat, we have our water fill port. So this is a simple hose adapter fitting, so you can use any standard RV potable water safe hose. Screws right onto there and you can fill up your tank. You have a sight cut out here on the faceplate of this that allows you to kind of monitor your water level. And we have a little tank backlight that will illuminate and help to see that water level a little bit easier. So that's that little switch right there. The switch up top here is for our water pump. So we have that pump switch that was up on our control panel. We also have the switch back here that allows us to turn this pump on and off. So I can go ahead and turn the pump on. We do have a little bit of water in the system right now, and the pump will continue to run until it hits about 55 PSI, and then it automatically shuts off. So you simply click on the switch, let it pressurize, and you keep the switch on while you're using the water system, so either the faucet or the spray down shower. And then when you're finished using either one of those, go ahead and just turn the water pump off. It's always safer to keep that off just in case something happens. So with our spray down shower here, we have our sprayer head here and our control valve that will control both temperature and the volume. So I can go ahead, we have our water pump on, I can go ahead and turn to full pressure, and then I can adjust temperature side to side. And then there is a large button on the back, so I can simply spray. And now I can adjust my temperature by rotating this. You'll notice that the flow rate doesn't really change, but I can actually change the temperature if that hot water heater was going. And then I can shut this guy off either by releasing the button or by shutting off the valve on here. Now, another nice feature about this is a really heavy duty, it's a metal unit, this is not plastic, no chintzy components here. I can keep this guy spraying, so say I wanted to kind of mount like a little clip up here that I could hang the shower head from like one of the rear doors. can press the button, and then we can slide up on that little tab right there and actually keep it running in kind of in a hands-free mode, and then simply press, slide that little thing down and release again to turn it back off. So it can go continuously or just kind of use it in the sprayer mode. Really nice, heavy-duty components that are gonna last a long time and not freeze up and break on you. These guys, we are going to be offering on our TitanDIYKits.com, so keep an eye out for that. It's a newer product that we were putting together that you'll be able to install yourself. It comes with all the components needed, and you'll be able to hook it up to your water system with pretty minimal effort. So once you're finished using this guy, go ahead and shut the valve off, and then you can go ahead and drain the system out, depressurize it, just so you don't have some water stored up in there. Feed that hose back in, and then slide that guy right on in. Down below, we have our control valve for our water tank. So this is kind of our master on-off. Right now it's in the on position, so the water pump is connected directly to this valve, so this allows us to turn the water onto the tank. We can turn it off by going straight up and down. So now if I went to use my sprayer here, eventually we're gonna run out of water, and you can hear that water pump running a little bit. It's sucking air right now, so then I'd have to turn it back on, and then we have water again. Okay, so we'll go ahead and turn that guy off for now. We'll depressurize that once more time. And then once you go to winterize your vehicle, so if you want to get all the water out of the system, we have a full winterization video. It does require an air compressor to blow the system out. We can go ahead and set this to drain. So this valve has 3 positions: on, off, as we just demonstrated, and then drain. So I'll go ahead and flip this guy, and we're gonna start to see some water that actually comes out of the bottom of the van. So you might be able to hear that down there. We have a pretty good steady rate, so we're actually draining the tank right now. So that's the first step in the winterization process, is to go ahead and just get as much of that water out of the tank as possible. Even going up on a slight incline will help to get as much of that water back towards that output as possible. And once you get that drained, then we just have a couple more steps to get that whole system fully blown out and ready for those cold temperatures if you're gonna be leaving the van sitting for long periods of time. So sweet. So we'll show you the electrical system on this side. So really tight and organized inside here. We keep things really simple. Up top, we have our solar charge controller, our DC fuse block, our battery disconnect switch, our large fuses for both our alternator charging and for our inverter. And then we have our inverter, which is the Xantrex XC2000 sitting right over there. So keep things really tight and neat. This is more of a utility area, so you're really not having to interface with this too often. But if you do need to service things or troubleshoot when you're out, really nice to have this simple setup that you can check and make sure that everything's working as it's supposed to. So hope you guys like this video. I know there's a lot of information, and we got lots more to come, so stay tuned for more. Hit that like button if this was helpful to you and you like the information. We plan on continuing these guys, but we appreciate the feedback, and let us know if you have any questions, if I didn't cover something, or if you need more details. We'll do our best to answer some of those guys, and lots more coming out, so stay tuned. Thanks for watching.